Start out with good afternoon and good morning. I understand that we have registrants today that have joined us from across 5 time zones, and we're really excited. I'm Dr. Beverly Scott. For those of you, the founder of AYA, for those of you that have not had the pleasure of meeting so far, and it is really our pleasure to welcome you today and all in the tremendous lineup of the speakers that we have for what is really now our third annual Critical Conversations capstone career awareness webinar. We do this every May, okay, and it closes out the first segment of our program, which is on career awareness. And the topic that we select with a lot of help from our participants, from industry, from community, are topics of critical industry-wide significance. They have impacts for today, impacts for the future, and we make certain that, and they're also topics that can stand greater overall public awareness, but particularly beg for and demand the input intentionality around the input of youth engagement, because these are really deep-seated issues that will be with us for a while. So when we went through all of that, the topic that was selected this year is really broad territory, which is why we have 2 sets of webinars today. It is absolutely an emphasis in terms of transit safety fundamentally across the board, but it's safety, it's innovation, it has engineering in it, it has passenger improvements, but it has a very major issue that is not only facing us, that we are experiencing across the board and have been for some time, which is on the whole issue of transit worker, customer, and general public safety. Okay, so now with that, I'd like to quickly go through and so that gives you the setup on critical conversations. We would not we have to acknowledge really just some really long-standing sponsors of the program: American Public Transportation Association, Great Allen Group, our Bev Scott and Associates, and of course, Mineta Transportation Institute. And I really want to take the opportunity, particularly for today's program, to really thank very much President Costa with Amalgamated Transit Union. It just would not have been possible to have pulled this all together without that really signature involvement and participation. So thank you so much. Continuing on, Isaiah, there's ATU, International Transportation Learning Center, and the Transit Workforce Center with the Federal Transit Administration. We're also delighted that one of the things that's happened this year is that USDOT, when they've always been one that we've consulted, but they, for another part of our program, which is really a very unique virtual innovation challenge, we are in fact, with their support, developing what will be a national guidebook as well as a toolkit. So we're extremely excited to be able to have that partnership as well. But once again, Amalgamated Transit Union, thank you so much, and ITLC TWC. Okay, continue on. We would not be able to do any of this without our local host organizers. These are our 12 local host organizers and program participants for this year. And we're excited to particularly call out for this webinar Toronto Transit Commission and AC Transit Alameda Contra Costa in the Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area, and they are really helping to lead the conversations today, particularly for the bus of the future. Okay, and then we have the second panel as well. Okay, keep going, Isaiah. We're going to move it on. Here's just a few comments from Paul Skatelis, who is president of American Public Transportation Association, about today's session. And then we're going to be wrapping up, and I'm going to be turning it over to Karen Philbrick, who is the executive director for the Mineta Transportation Institute, San Jose State University, and just an unbelievable professional. And we ask her to take this on as our moderator every year and are delighted to do so. So now I'm going to turn it to Paul, then we'll turn it to Karen, and she'll take it away. Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Skatelis, President and CEO of the American Public Transportation Association, known as APTA. It has been our pleasure to be a longtime supporter of introducing youth to American infrastructure, known as AYA. And we're proud to be the platinum sponsor for AYA's 2025 Sustainable Mobility Career Awareness and Innovation Challenge. This year, as AYA launched its 2025 Critical Conversations series, we're especially pleased to see the focus on transit worker safety, an urgent shared priority across our industry. We look forward to seeing how AYA's young leaders and community partners explore innovative approaches to this critical issue. Across the transportation sector, our greatest, most valuable asset is our people. And there is no greater challenge or opportunity than ensuring we're able to attract and retain a diverse, well-prepared, and motivated workforce that reflects the communities we serve. It is our pleasure to continue supporting AYA's efforts to inspire, empower, and connect the next generation of leaders, workforce professionals, and change makers in public transportation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Karen, I'm turning it to you. And in so doing, as you go through these webinars, I want you to think of two things. Number one, what can I do? What can I do? What can we do? What can our community do? So it's information, but we're also interested in action. And then the other that Karen will speak to is we also have a national survey that we will be asking you to complete as well as to share. Karen, with no further ado, it's to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bev. Let me say something. Any day with you is a great day, and I'm so privileged to be a part of this wonderful webinar series. Thank you for the kind invitation. And for those joining us today, if you don't know Dr. Beverly Scott, you need to. She is a powerful leader with rich lessons on how to lead teams well, inclusively during times of crisis and different challenges, and just highlighting her overall leadership experience. To that end, she is a Mineta Leadership Fellow, and we will be dropping into chat a link so you can learn valuable lessons from Dr. Scott herself. Thanks again. Events like these are an essential part of spreading awareness and understanding issues that impact every one of us. I think we all know that transportation touches us all every day of our lives, whether it's how we move from point A to point B, or how we access the food we consume, or the devices we use to remain connected. It is pivotal. It's a lifeline that enables us to do everything. It drives the economy, it empowers us to live, work, play, it connects us all. And transit, as we know, is a critical part of the future of mobility and certainly of safe, efficient, and sustainable communities. Recent years have produced many challenges, as we know. We've got the post-pandemic challenges, economic shifts, a really difficult political environment, and rapid technological changes. These have brought our nation's transit systems to a pivotal moment, and we're balancing the urgent need for integration, for essential adaptations for a more sustainable future, and most importantly, the critical responsibility of protecting the safety and well-being of our frontline workers. I can't stress that enough, the safety and well-being of our frontline workers. And to that end, just a side note, when we talk about safety culture, we often talk about physical safety. We miss the psychological safety that is imperative for people to operate fully and to the best of their ability. In short, it means psychological safety is the ability to express yourself without fear of retribution or harm. And when you have that safety, better decision-making arises that include multiple points of view. And Bev knows this very, very well, of course. All of these are challenges that we are experiencing on top of trying to build a transportation workforce to lead us into the future. So the work we're doing here right now today matters deeply in every regard. It impacts all of the needs I've just mentioned. And by engaging each other and certainly young people in conversation in this moment in time, will help us with innovation, safety, and community design. We are equipping the next generation to imagine and build a safer, more seamless system for all. I can't stress that enough either. We have to start young if we're going to solve this problem. And Dr. Bev has the right idea. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Take a moment to highlight our guests from TTC, ATU, and AC Transit. That's a mouthful, lots of acronyms there. They will all be speaking today. So first, I'd like to highlight Andrew Filatico. He's the Health and Safety Director for the Amalgamated Transit Union International and is responsible for creating and conducting health and safety trainings, leading initiatives to improve working conditions and safety standards for ATU members across the United States as well as into Canada. Andrew is an advocate for reducing violence and harassment in the workplace, along with bringing awareness to mental health issues. He plays a pivotal role in the Bus Design Innovation Project, working with the Toronto Transit Commission that's the TTC acronym, and Centennial College to incorporate FTA's Bus of the Future recommendations. Thank you, Andrew, for being with us. We
Thank you.
also welcome Nana Duan, the Toronto Transit Commission's first manager for new technology and innovation. She's leading the charge to pilot and implement cutting-edge transit technology solutions. She oversees TTC's innovation mandate, focusing on projects that enhance rider and worker safety, and she serves as the director for the Bus Design Innovation Program. You can see we've got the right experts joining us today who represent broad backgrounds. Andrew and Nana will discuss the partnership of these agencies to innovate and redesign buses for improved passenger and, importantly, operator safety. Now, after we hear from those two, we'll turn to hear from Cecil Blandon. He's the Director of Maintenance at the Alameda Contra Costa Transit District, better known as AC Transit here in the Bay Area. It's the third largest bus-only transit agency in the United States. Now, I heard Bev say we have people joining us from across 5 time zones, which tells me we have some international guests as well. So really important to know that Cecil is bringing a very critical point of view to this conversation today. He's responsible for the district's maintenance operation, which consists of 625 buses, 150 non-revenue vehicles, 7 facilities, and 467 employees. His team has successfully operated over 6 million miles on fuel cell buses. His top priority is ensuring the district is ready for its continued success in zero-emission bus deployment as it increases its fleet and expands its hydrogen and battery electric infrastructure on site. He's joined by Chris Durant, Assistant Director of Maintenance with AC Transit. Chris he doesn't look it, that's for sure, but he has over 39 years of transportation maintenance experience, with 35 of those years in public transit. Chris and Cecil will talk to us about workforce innovation and community partnerships and AC Transit's experience with zero-emission vehicles. Moderator's privilege, I'd like to do a shout out to AC Transit, who's been a long-term sponsor of the Minetta Transportation Institute annual banquet and convocation celebration. You all are helping to educate the next generation of leaders, and we are so grateful. We will have a moderated discussion and an interactive Q&A at the end of this session, so please save your questions until the end. I'm so excited to hear from our speakers, so I'll hand the mic off, but as you're thinking of your questions, you can drop them into the chat feature or the Q&A, with the understanding I'll get to those at the end of our time together today. So without further ado, without further ado, Andrew, please take it away.
Thanks, Karen. Appreciate all the kind words and introductions for everybody on the panel. I wanted to start off with expressing some gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Beverly Scott and her team, and for all the speakers who are on today. I look forward to discussing with them and with all the people in joining today how we can make a difference with the Bus of the Future and for transit in itself. So first question is, can everybody see this screen?
Yes, sir. Looks good to me for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off. So in this presentation today, we're gonna take a look at the Bus Design Innovation Program, the collaborative partnership, a joint labor management partnership with the Toronto Transit Commission, the A2 International, A2 Local 113, and Centennial College. This presentation will highlight some of the innovates that we're working on that actually were through the conception of the Bus of the Future project. So before I move into that, I'd like to share with my colleague, Nana Duan. She has a few words to say about some of the innovation projects we're doing. Nana, take it away.
Thanks so much, Andrew. And again, to Dr. Beverly and her team, I think thank you so much for having us here today. And we've been participating as TTC every year in your IRA Challenge, and humble brag, we've been winning that as well. But it's really nice to be here today. And thanks, Andrew, for that. I won't steal your thunder. I just wanted to make a few quick points and then hand it over to you. So generally, when I would talk about the Bus Design Innovation Program, being part of the project team, steering it, I think initially it started off as what seemed to be this utopian concept of everyone working together so collaboratively at the design table, really asking the question of how can we make our buses safer for our operators, like really their workstations safer for them, and also for our riders. So I think really being able to ask that question and having that kind of empathy for the operator was so critical. And being in innovation, we always talk about human-centered design, where your end user is at the absolute center of what you're designing for. So I think when we talked about that concept, and today looking at how we've been able to operationalize it, it's been a while since we've actually been rolling out these design features together. And we're actually doing a lot of road shows to get operator feedback. We've got ATU and Local 113 and ATU International right with us at that design table with Centennial College as well. So you're unlocking the power of academia. You've got your end user so well supported, and then you've got our commission, that's supporting with driving these initiatives forward. And we have loved every bit of how collaborative this joint partnership has been, this joint labor partnership has been. And the road ahead now is really us being able to build out what this bus of the future would look like. We've also been able to engage youth in a huge way by doing hackathons with different youth participants and really asking the next generation leaders to tell us what do they see in this bus of the future? How can they be part of actually co-creating with us, not just as ideas on a board that get sent to a backlog, but actually being front and center. And that's how Centennial's collaboration has been so critical. We did this hackathon last year with over 90 participants that had sent us, these amazing prototypes and solutions. And we had our ATU folks and TTC executives that were on the judges panel. We were actually able to take those ideas and put them in the pipeline, which is currently in the pipeline for BDIP, which is the Bus Design Innovation Program. So I think we've understood the colossal power of bringing partners together at the design table and then further unlocking and future-proofing by being able to bring youth in, which is such a fresh and incredibly important perspective. So with that, I'll hand it over back to Andrew to really share the good work we've been doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nana. Very well spoken. And just to echo some of the words that Nana has presented here today that are key is we are taking an approach here, not just with the partnership that's demonstrated on this slide here with TTC and ATU and Centennial College, but our objective is to reach out to all the transit industry leaders out there and create cooperative partnerships. Everybody's going to come to the table with some really interesting ideas. I do believe we have a responsibility to move the industry and what that might look like for the future. I think we need to help our bus manufacturers and be part of that process. All levels of governments coming into play here to understand that we do it together. There's no competition here, and that whatever the bus design innovation comes up with information assessment and evaluation, our objective is to share it with everybody so that we are bringing everybody to the table in a global way. So having said that, let's take a look at how we got here. And this next slide here actually looks at the Bus of the Future project, which happened about a few years ago. And lots of credit goes to the ITLC, Jack Clark, and Brian Sherlock for doing some really good work with some grant money here. And part of that was to come up with concepts that looked at eliminating workstation blind spots and protecting those operators from assaults, as we talked previously. We need to improve ergonomics for proper workstations, as some of our operators are subjected to a lot of back injuries and gradual injuries, unfortunately. Reduction in whole body vibration, reduced steering effort, and improved air quality. Now, the next slide in this presentation kind of just summarizes what the Bus of the Future is, which then segues into the Bus Design Innovation Program, which actually took some of these recommended concepts.
Transit operators today face numerous on-the-job issues, but the solutions are at our disposal. Welcome to the Bus of the Future. Many of the buses on our city streets have design flaws that create blind spots for drivers. New barriers installed in recent years add to the visibility challenges due to the glare. The bus of the future significantly reduces the blind spots that create hazards for transit operators, pedestrians, and other vehicles. Driver barriers in the bus of the future will have reduced glare, and added security features will allow operators to act quickly, protect themselves from any attack. Health and safety isn't just about assault prevention. Bad ergonomics is a leading cause of injuries and lead to absences. And the pandemic has shown that operators and their families are also at a much greater risk of catching airborne diseases. The bus of the future's advanced design improves airflow and air quality, and enhancements to elements of the workstations will reduce the physical strain and pressure on operators. Through good driver-focused design, the bus of the future will improve safety for operators and the public. The cost of not acting now is too great. The future is in our hands.
Excellent.
So further moving into this presentation, the Bus Design Innovation Program, this is a collaborative applied research with our partnerships. We've taken the Bus of the Future concepts as well as other innovative ideas that we've put through a pipeline, and therefore we have taken the opportunity to put our committees together to discuss how to get to our end goal. To put this in context and why we're actually doing this is that we've realized that the transit industry has seen an increase of assaults of almost 300% last 12 years. And through the collaboration of VDIP, we recognize the urgency to be able to have a worker-centered project that demonstrates fully enclosed barriers, proper sight lines, and allowing our patrons to have an excellent transit experience. So we take a look at some of our short-term goals. We're looking at improved operator security, which identifies no opening for assaults. We've gone through 2 pandemics from SARS to COVID. Chances are we might go through another one. So virus protection is key for the future. Reducing glare and reflections. Unfortunately, there's a lot of accidents that do happen on left-hand turns on buses based on not having proper sight lines. And we also want to ensure that customers are not blocking operator sight lines as well. Further looking into our short-term goals, we're looking at testing active, semi-active seats that control vertical acceleration. We're also looking at to reduce the reduction of excessive musculoskeletal injuries, and also testing camera mirror systems to increase operator visibility. Most importantly, we want to support our operators so that they're not under a cognitive load and that we can give them the proper technology necessary to be able to have proper vision up to 360 degrees. Some of our long-term studies that we're looking at is A-pillar elimination or reduction in size. This is actually not new. If you take a look at Europe's design features on buses, they've been doing this for quite a while. So perhaps maybe we can piggyback on some of that technology, take a look at that, help our bus manufacturers out, and look at how we can actually design that future bus. Some of the other stuff that we're looking at that have been introduced to the funnel of innovation here is improved HVAC design. This particular slide here indicates vertical airflow, similar to like an airplane where you have a flow of column from top to bottom per patron. And then you have an HVAC filtration system at the bottom. Most importantly, we're also looking at independent HVAC for our operators, so it does cause positive airflow pressure. This Bus Design Innovation Program is governed by a committee, and one of the most key important factors of our success is that we have joint health and safety committees. It is worker-centered. We have representatives from both the employer and from the union and worker side. We're sitting at the table with the engineers. Also, our external partners, we look at the bus manufacturers who we've had many conversations with. And we look at this as a collaborative effort in having to bring in all the transit industry leaders. So once again, we are looking at taking a holistic approach to making transit safer through collaborative partnerships. This slide here demonstrates some of the language that we operated from a project charter. And how we take a look at innovations is when we do create an innovation and we put it out there, we get feedback surveys from operators. The Toronto Transit Commission has approximately 5,000 bus operators, where we're hoping to get a response between 50 to 75% of them. That would help with the assessment and evaluation. Our health and safety committees are in full participation of this. They're at the table. and they're trained through assessment and evaluation. And this gives us an opportunity to have a worker's voice at the table, working with the agency, working with the employer and the bus manufacturers. Some of the buses that have been designed or have been designated for retrofits, where we have a brand new New Flyer battery electric bus. We have 3 Nova hybrid electric buses that we have, and we have a donated Van Hool bus that actually, through the help of Jack Clark and the ITLC, we now have that at Centennial College. Some of the current designs that we're looking at from right to left, we'll be testing a rear view A-pillar cameras. This aims to enhance sight lines. We want to remove obstructive views, reduce the risk of collision to the vulnerable road users. In the middle, we have the semi-active seats. We're testing quite a few of those. This improves the ergonomics and reduces vibration and fatigue to the operator. And to the left of this slide here, we have some fully enclosed operator barriers to protect the operator. And what's key about these barriers is they do have clear sight lines, so they're not impeding the open and closed side of the mirrors. So let's take a closer look. What you have here is a fully enclosed barrier. This is on a Nova bus. Maybe very difficult to see in this picture, but the supplemental panel runs parallel to the dash, doesn't go to the window. So therefore we have clear and open sight lines. This is another Nova bus, same difference. As you can see on the left-hand side, much more clear. You can see the supplemental panels that run parallel to the dash. But what we did with this innovation was we actually removed the fare box out of the workstation. And what that actually did was support the operator with better ergonomics. And statistically, when we look at fare evasion, this is usually caused through having the fare box there, and sometimes what happens is they run into an assault situation through fare evasion. So we kind of moved that out. We got some advice from some operators to say, hey, why don't we give this a try? So this is one of the innovations that we're actually taking a hard look at. And this bus here, another Nova bus, this is a barrier that came from the Nova engineers. This is a fully procured barrier here. And we're actually putting this on a roadshow. We kind of like this because when having to talk to the manufacturers, they took the opportunity to look at the bus of the future design concepts. And actually, this really demonstrates a push in the industry because of the bus manufacturers taking the opportunity to actually put in this designed barrier. TTC is now taking these barriers. We have 5 of them now that are now in a roadshow that starts from May to September. That will go out to various divisions, and many of the operators will have the opportunity to give us their feedback. When the barrier roadshow is done, we go back to the table and we learn what the takeaways are to see how do we improve the barrier again, and then get back to that golden prototype. Earlier on, I talked about the Van Hool bus. We do have this bus now sitting at Centennial College. The objective here is to look at a cockpit style barrier, have it fitted with an active, semi-active seat. And we're also looking at the concept of a glass dash. And earlier on, I talked about the vertical airflow. Further looking into the Van Hool bus, we're now moving forward with putting in a cockpit style barrier. You see on the left-hand side of the presentation here, that's the file that demonstrates that. On the right-hand side, we've just recently put in the cockpit style barrier. Not too aesthetically pleasing. This is looking at it from the front to the back. But we are moving forward with demonstrating the various generations of barriers that can come equipped with buses. Other innovations that the BDIP is looking at and taking serious consideration is whole body vibration and bus driver health issues that can cause circulatory issues, respiratory problems, fatigue, and reduced performance. And how we're taking a good look at that is that we're testing our active, semi-active seats. And the objective is to perform a comparison between 4 different seats. We're looking at trying to improve ergonomics and reduce vibration. And we've actually had these seats tested at a lab, and then we're going to put them in a bus and then have the operators test them and come back to the table and see which seats actually work the best. We're also working with the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit for the Toronto Transit Commission. And our objective here is to work with the community have them give us feedback on what they think is best for the best potential design features that could go into a bus. So having said that, I'd also like to mention that there's been some acknowledgement from the FTA to our President Costa of the ATU International and to the TTC acknowledging the work that we've been doing through the Bus Design Innovation Program. And like I said before, this is a collaborative approach, and our objective is to work with all agencies, all transit industry leaders, get as much feedback as possible. After all, we are in it together to provide a proper, safe and transit experience for our patrons as well as for our operators. And I'd like to share with you a video that was taken. We've gone to many conferences. We've had some of the buses there that were been demonstrated. We've had people all from across North America take a look at these buses. I'd like to share that with you.
The Amalgamated Transit Union is showcasing its latest bus design to tackle the rise in transit assaults. The proposed blueprint is part of the ATU's broader initiative called the Bus Design Innovation Program. ATU members say the enhanced bus layout has been in the works for years, includes more video cameras and added partitions to ensure the safety of everyone on board.
The operator feels less stressed. His eyes are focused on the road, not focused on who's behind me. Is that person up to no good? Am I going to be assaulted by that person? So the stress is the stress factor goes down, which then in the result of that, it's a safer ride for the riders.
John Costa, who you saw there, says there's still work to be done before finalizing the new measures. The feedback from transit workers and commuters has been beneficial for the design team, he says.
And I'd like to share with you a video here that encompasses the Bus Design Innovation Program and the direction that we're going in with the program, with our partnerships, and having to reach out to all the transit industry leaders such as yourself today watching in. And we'll just share that with you right now.
The Bus Design Innovation Program seeks improved service for riders and safety for operators. Through root cause analysis, as well as determination of global best practice and North American innovation, the Bus Design Innovation Program is proposing solutions for transit agencies and bus manufacturers. This includes bus of the future design concepts and best practices to establish new global benchmarks in bus design and safety. Objectives include preventing assaults on operators through enhanced physical barriers to workstations, improving operator visibility through increasing sight lines, reduced glare, and removing obstructions. Eliminating injuries, especially musculoskeletal injuries, by optimizing drivers' workstation ergonomics. Reducing exposure to viral transmission through improved HVAC design. The project will deliver both incremental and transformative changes, with the goal of creating a safer and healthier experience for operators, passengers, and the global community. Bus Design Innovation Program partners are focused on practical, relevant, forward-looking solutions rooted in empathy for the operators, which empowers employees to take ownership of innovation. The Bus Design Innovation Program Committee will engage and support health and safety committees to provide input and recommendations while utilizing surveys with bus operators to measure, assess, and evaluate bus design features to be considered for potential implementation. Working together, united in safety. Our voice, our power, our future. The time is now.
Great. And in conclusion, I'd just like to say a couple words based on that the Bus Design Innovation Program and its committees and all its stakeholders, we understand that this is worker-centered. We look at the empathy of the operator to build and design to make that operator successful. We also take in careful consideration of giving our patrons a great transit experience and advancing the health and safety of transit and its industry. And I think the only way we can do that is to demonstrate partnerships and to succeed in having to do that. So thank you very much for allowing me to share that with you. And on behalf of the A2 International, the Toronto Transit Commission, all the stakeholders, thank you.
And thank you, Andrew and Nana. That was just an exceptional presentation. And I just can't help myself. I lead a research institute. So I dropped a link into chat to a research report that we published in 2018 titled Not Just an Ache, Examining the Rate of Musculoskeletal Pain in City Bus Drivers. Everything I do, I always think about labor being a critical part of the conversation. And so understanding the pains and aches that they go through, we need to dig deep. And that paper looked at the rates of discomfort in a sample of 957 city bus drivers in King County Metro, which is a public transit agency in the greater Seattle area. The results demonstrated that 85% of respondents had pain in at least one area of their body. Now, when you compare that to the Centers for Disease Control, that's a much higher rate than the general population. Rates of pain were elevated in the lower back, the shoulders, and the knees, and higher for women. But of those experiencing pain, and this is incredibly important, 50% indicated it prevented them from doing their normal work and visited a medical professional. So what you just shared with us is absolutely incredible and so timely. Very grateful. Thank you for that. And now we're going to turn to our next presentation. So Cecil Blandon and Chris from AC Transit are going to take it away. Cecil, Chris, please.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Definitely exciting to be here today and share with you guys some of the history and story and challenges that AC Transit has faced to continue our zero emission program and where we're at today. To keep up with the buses and everything that comes to be successful with a zero emission deployment as our fleet continues to grow. Again, I'm Cecil Blandon. I am the Director of Maintenance, and I have with me Chris Durant, and we'll kick it off here.
All right, I'm Chris Durant, the Assistant Director of Maintenance here at AC Transit. We're going to be talking about the bus of the future. It's like the overview of our program is AC Transit is the largest public or transit bus only agency in California. It's the largest. We're headquartered in Oakland, California, East Bay of the San Francisco area. We have 7 elected board members that represent the ridership of the area. And we have 1.5 million people in the service area. We cover 364 square miles and have 128 lines, with 18 of them being commuter or Transbay lines that go between the Oakland area and the San Francisco terminal. We do 16 million annual service miles and have 2,200 employees, majority of them being operators and maintenance operations employees. And we operate 7 facilities, 4 bus yards and 3 support yards, one of those being the general office where our administrative building is. We have 625 buses, with 58 of them being zero emission. All right, next slide. Okay, a little bit about our zero emission program. We've been doing zero emission in the Bay Area since 2000. That's when we started our program. We started initially with a pilot project that was a loaner bus, hydrogen fuel cell bus from Sunline Transit. We operated that in service to test the technology. We moved from that into a demonstration program with 3 buses that we designed based on what we learned from the first bus. We operated that in service for 3 years and then transitioned to an advanced demonstration program that comprised 13 buses that we designed from scratch based on what we had with our initial program. and operated those until 2019 is when we finished that actual demonstration program. And from that program, we were able to work on the fueling and the maintenance of the buses. It's like during the advanced demonstration program, that was actually being operated through a grant, and it actually had a group of engineers that helped support the vehicles for the first part of the program. When that grant ended, we had to transition from the engineers that were maintaining the fuel cells and actually learning how to work on the buses ourselves, transitioning, and it's like having to put in programs to teach the other mechanics how to work on the hydrogen fuel cell buses. So it's like that transition was abrupt, but we took it on, and it's like, and then we pushed forward from there. So next slide. So it's like we're kind of transitioning. So this is 33 years ago. This is actually when I started working on buses. This is what this was the workhorse. This is what we cut our teeth on. This is what all the mechanics needed to know. They operated diesel engines. There was very little technology on the vehicles. You know, they went from manual transmissions to a very simple hydraulic automatic transmission. The diesel engines had no controls as far as emissions. They didn't have any monitoring parameters. It's basically the engine ran with just an oil pressure gauge and a water temperature gauge. That's pretty much the only technology it had on it. The destination sign was not a simple process. It was a roller shade with exposures on it. If you wanted to make any route changes, you would have to redo the entire shade. The curtain was a film or cloth, depending on the manufacturer, but it's like, it was very super simple. You know, the lights on the buses were incandescent light bulbs. It was the standard at the time was, you know, it's like you change light bulbs all the time. Incandescent light bulbs, it's like went bad all the time. It's like you had boxes and boxes of light bulbs, and that's what it's like a big part of the night is changing light bulbs at night. Electrical systems were very simple. Electrical systems, it's like you had test lights. You know, it's like there was no voltmeters. There was no, it's like no computers to go do the diagnosis. It's like basically a test light and going through the system, checking wires by hand. The air brake system in the buses, it was the same for years. It was like, it's from the 50s. The air valves that they used in the 50s even are still used today. But there are certain improvements they've made recently. It's like in the last 30 years. And then fare collection. Fare collection at the time was a drop box. Basically, you drop your coin in, they put it on a plate, and you dropped it into the cash box. There was no telematics. There was no record of where the fares were coming in, not collected. And then the two-way radio system on the bus. The two-way radio system on the bus was that. It was a two-way radio. It was like you had to wait your turn for the channel to become open and be able to go and to speak to a dispatcher. Or if you had to report a problem, it's like you had to try to voice over a lot of other radio traffic, and you heard what was going on at it's like on everyone's bus. So next slide. So this is the technology part of it. This is like, we went from a very simple bus that was pretty easily, it's like the mechanics were pretty easy to find at the time. And it's like, and we've added a lot to it. You know, from propulsion, it's like we went from a standard diesel engine mechanical to a electronically controlled engine, hydrogen fuel cell, battery electric, using drive motors. They've changed from a high floor design to a low floor design. to allow for easy access to the vehicle. They went from a wheelchair lift that was very complex to a very simple operation for a ramp. You know, to gain access, they've added improvements to the wheelchair securement systems. They've simplified that to make sure that the riders are safe. They've added gas detection and fire suppression systems to the vehicles that was not there. It's like in the pre-1990s. They've worked on enhancing the visibility in the operator compartment, increasing the window size, reducing the pillar size, A-pillar size, and they've improved the braking and traction control systems. The basic foundation brakes are the same, but they've added anti-lock braking and the traction control that allows it so it's not, it has traction even in slippery conditions. And it's the heating and air conditioning system. AC Transit actually didn't have air conditioning until 2013. Was when we added our air conditioning to the fleet. So it's like we went a long time without air conditioning. The climate has changed. And now we have a computer controlled air conditioning system with an improved filtering improved technology for filtering the air. Passenger infotainment systems are also available on the buses. Multiplex electrical systems. We have computers all over the vehicle now. It's like almost everything is computer operated. Almost every system now has some type of computer connected to it. And these systems are all connected into the radio system, and it's like able to transmit telematics back to the divisions and back to dispatch, so we can monitor systems on the vehicle remotely. We've improved the camera systems to be high definition, be able to go and zoom in on different elements, to be able to do live lookings on the bus. And then also it's have improved low light resolution. Automatic passenger counters give us information that about the ridership pickups, drop-offs, so we can look at hotspots for the actual ridership. So there's been a lot of improvements. There's a lot more technology on the vehicles. It's made it more complex for the people maintaining it. Our group that we have here at AC Transit, there's a lot more intense training that they have to go through than perhaps when I started. There's a lot more systems that have computers that they're able to take a look at. It's like the wiring systems are more complex, and it takes a different type of mechanic than what we had in the 90s. It's changed quite a bit.
So our organizational structure at AC Transit, with being able to maintain the fleet, a lot of times we have the focus as we have here, one of our a group of mechanics that graduated from our introduction to zero emission technology. It's not just the mechanics, but also our facilities team to maintain, our ZEB infrastructure, whether it's battery electric charging or our hydrogen infrastructure. So, one of the things that we have been focusing on and also working with our contractors or vendors is that there are training programs to be able to train the trainer to make sure we can pass down that knowledge so that we can maintain that equipment, whether it's the physical equipment or the buses, as Chris, communicated all the new technology that is on the vehicles, and how do we, get this technology properly maintained so that the preventive and corrective maintenance is done correctly, so that we can, as a maintenance team, can deliver a bus to transportation and for the public to provide its purpose and not break down, right? No one wants to have a brand new bus out on the road that just broke down. That's not a good scenario that we want to have. And so getting all this technology trained through my 167 journey level mechanics, or here the 95 service employees, really the two largest groups within the maintenance department, ensure that they have the knowledge and skill set of the do's and don'ts, comfort level. It has been a critical item for us as a district here. You know, we've been doing zero emission technology for, you know, for 2 decades. So that aspect of finding the champions within the agency at each division, to help promote the technology, help promote, you know, the trainings that we do. We do a volunteer-based training, basically. So we don't mandate anyone to work on zero emission technology. We seek out those volunteers, people that are passionate, that want to work on the technology. And those are really become our champions, for us to continue to promote the technology and be able to expand out across the district. So early on in our training program, we went ahead and trained as many mechanics as we could in the technology. What we learned was that we didn't have enough buses to zero emission technology buses to sustain the knowledge that we had put out early on. So we had mechanics that, you know, would see a bus a year later, you know, and then they had forgot how certain procedures needed to be done. And so we were constantly having to battle with training that mechanic and having to go back to put a trainer back with that team, or just having to go back, even sometimes it was simple. But when you look at the technology of having to go back with the laptop, connect, follow the correct steps to end up with the correct information, was a challenge, because sometimes we couldn't even connect anymore because it'd been a while since the mechanic had understood how to connect to that laptop and what he needed to do to pull the correct codes from the fuel cell or the process that needs to be performed to get the results or get the information that we needed, so we can get it to engineering, or, you know, be able to diagnose the vehicle correctly. We saw those challenges, so we kind of scaled back, and what we went to is really our bus to mechanic ratio. So here we use a 1-to-4 ratio. So as we increase our zero emission fleet, we know exactly how many more mechanics we need to have prepared to be able to work on that technology. And as an agency, we kind of, you know, we put a 5-year plan on what is our projection for our bus fleet. So we know ideally it's 2 years ahead, you know, how many buses are going to arrive in 2 years. And so we can prepare, we have those 2 years to prepare mechanics to be able to work on those technologies. So we take that approach, so that way we have the correct number of mechanics ready for that fleet, that incoming fleet. And so that way we could put our best foot forward, and we continue to introduce them with the vehicles and season that. The other part that we introduce also is just some refresher training that we've been having to go back to, just ensure mechanics have refresher training when it comes to the technology. And that has helped us a lot in what we're going to be talking about here in some of our programs that we have developed within the agency. So the progress in action, and I'll highlight some of this aspect. So one of the things is this is the labor, the district management and our ATU leadership. It's our partnership here in our labor organization between the two entities, right? It's very important that the district leadership and the ATU leadership work together hand in hand, have a cohesive environment, understand what our goals are that we're looking to achieve, to ensure that we have a successful training program. We can work together to seek out grants. We work together to implement processes, but also have a place where if there is disagreements, things that we need to work out, that there's a way that can be moved forward, right? At the end, our goal is to ensure the best for the employees, for the district, and ensure the employees are trained correctly. That's also a goal for ATU. So this is important that this is spelled out on how the team is supposed to work together, where there are those challenges, because there are challenges that come up. And it's important that there is a clear method and process for everyone to work together to when it comes to that. So here at AC Transit, And Chris is part of a member, part of our JAC, our Joint Apprenticeship Committee. We have an apprenticeship committee, apprenticeship program that got started early on in the 1980s, and since then has developed more into what we call into our mechanic career ladder program, where we've introduced a mechanic helper, basically where it can be, in some cases we've had is a operator who has moved into this program, was trained. He spends 1 year in the program to ensure that to give him a kind of life in as a mechanic, and working late shift, working days, nights, get to experience everything. Getting dirty, working on differentials, smelling, diff oil, grease, just really, we want to make sure that the employee is in that environment so that we can achieve the best success rate of what it means to be a mechanic, to be able to work on the buses. What is that life like? And so that year in that mechanic helper program really exposes the employee to what it means to be a mechanic. What are the tasks that you're going to be performing as a mechanic? And then they graduate from there and move into the apprenticeship program. And then they do the 4-year program to be able to achieve the journey level mechanic, basically certification when it comes to that. Through that, we also have journey level mechanic guides that they are kind of like the mentors and help those apprentices, help those mechanic helpers move or move through the passage of what is needed. That's that person that they can go through at that division or on that shift to, if they have a question, they don't have to just know that there's a support system there. So it's important that exists within the organization to help those mechanics. We don't want mechanics to be afraid to raise their hand or go to somebody if they have a question. So those journey mechanic guides provide that much needed success there for them to be successful in the program and move through the program. We also are getting ready to deploy the rest of our Master Journey Level Mechanic program, which is our high tier in there. So that is something else that we're back in implementing to ensure that those master mechanics can provide, other mentorship to those other journey level mechanics. As I talked about that refresher programs, right? You can't have mechanics that have never had a refresher program in 20 years, right? They have to continually train, get updated, and that becomes a larger challenge the larger your agency is, right? There are some benefits to when you have a large agency because we do have trainers, but now it's trying to move mechanics from fixing buses to go back and get training, right? It's always a difficult challenge for some of my managers to give up the workforce to go get retrained, right? But it's something that has to be needed. We have to reinvest into those mechanics so that they can perform the proper tasks correctly, right? It's not fair to not be able to train your team correctly and ask of them to be able to perform the functions needed to maintain the fleet correctly. And one of the highlights that we've been working on for many years, I think it's been about 4 or 5 years that we've been working here with some of our local accreditation and our local community college here with Chabot College, is this, what we call is our post-secondary institution work here. One of the things that we were able to finalize and just get implemented is that all the training that gets done through our apprenticeship program here at AC Transit, it is getting college credit. To be recognized that our program gets college credit is huge, and that will allow our mechanics to be able to have that college credit, be that much closer to achieving an AA or a 4-year degree, whichever pathway they want to do and whatever career path they decide to take within the agency. So for us, it's important that not just work the way up from, let's say, as a janitor to become a mechanic, but that future leader within the agency. We like to say here at AC Transit that you can come in as a janitor and make it all the way to a general manager, if that is your goal that you want to achieve. We're looking to achieve a pathway, put that pathway there for an employee to have a career within the organization on whatever their vision may be. We want to eliminate barriers and provide that for them. So how are we going to achieve and working as all these things that we talked about, the technology that's on the buses? We talked about having an apprenticeship program to train diesel mechanics, right? ZebU, which is Zero Emission Bus University, is our what we call our 9th module, is our module 2, our additional program to our heavy duty coach mechanic apprenticeship program. This is where we focus all our zero emission technology aspect when it comes to our fleet for our mechanics. So that picture on that last slide that had the mechanics there, they all went through our introduction to zero emission here with our ZebU program. Currently, the program is only within the district, but as we're looking to deploy this, it will be available, across the U.S., not just in the Bay Area, but we're looking, this will be something that'll be available to all. We did receive grant money, so here, this is some of the renderings of what we're going to be doing. We were lucky enough to win 2 low and no grant awards back to back, for $45 million. That is going to allow us to, one, upgrade our training and education center to the future. That's what we need to do. It's a 1980s building that we need to modernize it. We need to make it ready to be able to train that workforce of the future. And so we're lucky enough, like I mentioned, to win those grants that are going to providing the funds necessary to make this happen. So right now our ETA is around 2028 that it will be ready to open to the public. I guess we'll put it in that kind of format. But ZebU is going to bring huge changes to how we train here at AC Transit. As we are looking to put out this world-class facility for this advanced training. And the main part, a lot of our programs when it comes to ZebU is focused on mixed reality systems. This is AR, VR technology, right? It's important for us as we deal with high voltage, new technology, that we want to be able to create a safe space for mechanics, be able to also bring in some of the newer generation that really is attracted to this type of technology. So we want to make sure that we can cater towards the future of where our workforce is interested in, and bring this all into the technology. AI is something new that's coming out, and I'm sure we're going to be adding things related to AI in our technology and training. And so today, I want to, here to just show a couple of some of the things that we are doing with virtual reality. So what are we going to do with this mixed reality training? So we're wanting to have this, immersive simulated environment. We talk about live assist. So I have a quick video that I'll show this on this next slide, what live assist is. But, during COVID, we had help being requested to us to help other agencies that were within the U.S. and also outside of the U.S. in another country. And one of the things that we ran into back then is we were using a cell phone to kind of do a POV to be able to try and help this agency diagnose their vehicle and help them. We had the knowledge, but we just weren't there. So we were trying to get their mechanics for us to understand what was happening. So we saw that there was really a need of a newer technology that we could use to deploy to help agencies or train agencies where the need may arise. And so here, this is where we started to experiment with augmented reality or virtual reality and using some sort of a technology. Like here, we were using HoloLens technology, basically a wearable headset, like an Oculus, or there's multiple products out there. So this is not specific to any kind of brand, but just to give you guys some examples out there. But we wanted to be able to put that mechanic in a safe environment, be able to repeat the task, have that comfort level so that when he does go to perform that task on the bus, it's second nature. It's repetition. He knows how to do it. He has a comfort level. Now he's just performing that same task that he has done over and over virtually or in an augmented reality, that he can perform that task on this vehicle and not having any issues.
And so she can, can she, right, Cecil? She can
What's
also
that?
do that as well. And so can she. She can perform the same duties,
yes.
right?
Anybody in here, any employee that is hired from any skill set, and that's what's important is that skill set, regardless of the skill set from the employee that gets hired on, can learn easily, to do this. And that was one of the things. And in this scenario here, I want to paint the scenario. What we have here is one of our trainers sitting behind at one of our desks at one of our sites. And on the screen, he's talking to another mechanic at another site, 30 miles away. And what he's seeing on the screen is what the mechanic is seeing through those goggles, through those lenses of, you know, the HoloLens technology or an Oculus type lens, you know, product. And what you also see here, and hopefully you guys can see my cursor, you see this two little boxes. The mechanic sees those boxes, and you know, with the technology, you can control the boxes, meaning to turn, like it could be a manual where you can turn the page hands-free. So there's a lot of technology incorporation that's in this product. And I'm just going to let the video play here a little bit. And there's some interaction and communication that takes place between the trainer and the staff that is on site.
Okay, let's read that one.
There are 4 5mm mounting screws securing the compressor to the motor. Remove air compressor complete with fittings and flange from motor and set aside on workbench.
Okay, before you do it, if you look at the Rotrex on the bus, the compressor, you'll see the little see the little wrenches. It'll show you where they are.
So you can see that from here?
Yep, I can see them, and I can see it.
Okay.
So go ahead and remove those 4 Allens.
So yes,
I have to say this, okay? Being the grandmother in the room, soon to be the great grandmother, this is not your grandparents' transit agency. So for all you young people thinking about careers, I mean, between what you've seen in these presentations, it is off the chain. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So I'll go back in my box now. Okay.
Yeah, and so it is definitely new technology that is being incorporated to be able to train mechanics. So that was kind of a live assist, also remote training, right? We can help an agency across the US in another area, another country with issues with the goggle lens. And so that was kind of giving you the ZebView portion of it, but we're also using this technology for our diesel side of the house. And here in this scenario here, we have one of the mechanics with the headset, and he's actually following PM procedures, right? So typically as a transit agency or in a shop, we'll grab another, do a little OJT, grab another mechanic, place another mechanic with them and have them learn and follow the mechanic and get the steps. Here, we've created a library of the processes that are needed, and the mechanic can just, you know, instead of putting another mechanic, he can just throw a set of goggles on, follow the step-by-step instructions by the goggles to perform the maintenance that's required and ensure that it's done correctly. He can also take snapshots of the defects, right, and load them right into a work order if that's what we wanted to do. The technology can be used in multiple ways to better, you know, the repair process to ensure it's being done correctly, documentation of what's needed as we continue to incorporate more technology into the work order systems, and also just training, right? The mechanic forgets how to perform a procedure. We'd have to go get a buddy. Now he could just grab goggles, load up that media library that he forgot how to perform, and just follow the step-by-step instructions for the work that's required. That is it. So thank you, everyone. I hope you know. I look forward to to being able to in the future possibly hosting others here when it comes to this technology and the training. So thank you, everyone that's here today, and appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cecil and Chris, for sharing your knowledge with us today, which is so important. I got momentarily tongue-tied there because Brian Sherlock is participating in this very webinar, and this is a labor of love he has worked on for years. So Brian, a big shout out to you and to all of our friends that are joining us today. And I can't help myself, I've got to drop some more research data from a United Transportation Institute study. We did this perspective on AC Transit because I was so inspired with your training program. And after I heard then CEO Michael Hirsch talk about it, I realized we needed to tell your story across the industry. So I dropped a link into the chat so people can read this perspective. But basically, by way of background, the American Public Transportation Association has surveyed 117 transit agencies of every size, and 71% reported that they've either had to cut service or eliminate routes because of the workforce shortage. We also know from APTA that the average worker is 43% of the workforce is 55 and older. So Cecil and to all of our colleagues today, if we're going to address this problem and truly fix it, we need to be including everybody, not just he's or she's, but theys. This is a job for anybody. And that's how we're going to solve this challenge, or one of the ways I should say. So we've had some interesting questions already posed in advance of this webinar. I'm just going to go right into it. Andrew, this one was for you. Some of the work you're doing is to improve vehicle accessibility through features like enhanced audio-visual announcements and low floor designs. Could you share more about these improvements, how they were prioritized, and any key data or partnerships that inform them?
Hey,
That's
Greg.
a big one. You got it, Andrew?
Yeah, that's quite a bit there. So when it comes down to accessibility, we're working with TTC to work with their committee with ACAT, and the success of having to make changes or what's necessary. We're going to get the feedback from our patrons through this committee. Then we're going to bring it back to the Bus Design Innovation Program Committee and take a look at what we could potentially do to make changes. Now, one of the things I just want to make it very clear, when we take a look at the bus of the future, there's been a lot of discussions about having a third door, as we would have in Europe. And we believe that third door is going to create better access for our patrons for accessibility issues and concerns. Also, that's also going to complement the cockpit style barrier. So as you can see, it's almost like a domino effect of having to put all the pieces together to make sure that everything's going to work correctly. Now, there was another part of that question based on communication, I believe, Karen?
There was a second part to the question, yes, Andrew, and that is transit operator harassment and violence have risen sharply, both in the US and Canada. Oh,
Yes,
it makes me sick. It really does. This is driven by complex factors. I mean, the pandemic, mental health, addiction, economic instability, homelessness, as well as more immediate safety measures. What long-term collaborative strategies are being pursued to address these systemic issues that we're all experiencing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that actually is going to be a really good segue or follow-up into the next presentation as we take a look at assaults. But I will use the Toronto Transit Commission as a great example. Back in March of 2022, we had a series of operator stabbings. Almost 1 week after another, we had a couple stabbings. So what was put together through a Joint Labor Management project was a assault prevention committee. And what this committee looked at was a 10-point action plan that included increasing communication with the Toronto Police Department, increasing employment of special constables, making sure our Joint Health and Safety Committee were all available to be part of this process, and make recommendations. Now, why I'm mentioning this is because this was creating the foundation of maintaining transparency, feedback, and accountability to get something done. It's one thing to talk about assaults and say that we need to do something, but we need to create a model or a foundation that has an accountability that actually gets something done. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of this. We actually
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah. So this committee looked at a 10-point action plan that looked at having special constables be part of either areas that needed to be considered, like the end services or subway systems or so on, and they would walk around. We also had the need for fully enclosed barriers. I think that's one of the most important engineering controls that we could potentially look at. But also we took a look at what was happening post-COVID. There was a lot of mental illness. There was a lot of underhousing going on. So we needed to reach out to the community. We needed to have the city part of this process. So this is not just an agency problem. This is an everybody problem that we need to take a look at. How do we get the city involved? How do we provide proper education? And I'm going to tell you something, and I say this with great passion. In Canada, our committees are supported by the requirements of law to be part of testing, to be part of the process. And it's when you have your committees at the table and you have your workers talking about being there, as you had mentioned earlier about the frontline workers being part or subjected to these assaults. Well, now they are part of the process of making recommendations because they know what they're facing. And it's because of that foundation that we've been able to put together a 10-point action plan. And a lot of credit to the Toronto Transit Commission for putting this together and having joint labor management partnerships that allow us to make recommendations and put them into action. And here in Canada, we have laws that demonstrate that recommendation processes will be answered with a rationale and implemented. So there's no delay in doing it. Because if we can rationalize the likelihood, the severity, and measure the hazard, then that rationale needs to be executed into a tangible result. And that's why things get done faster. And I strongly recommend that if you're going to get something done to prevent assaults, get your committees involved, work together, be equal at the table, and take a hard look at it. Look, at the end of the day, we're all in the business of service. We need to make reliable service and make it a good transit experience for our patrons. But the reality is, if we invest in safety, our service will prevail and be number one. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a robust response. Very great. And I just dropped another link into another MTI research report about assault. But I wanted to go back to my comments before I pose the question to Andrew, because I forgot the most important thing, which was the finding of the AC Transit perspective that showed that this enhanced training actually improved retention of new bus operators by 20%. And I say that because now I'm going to turn to a question about workforce development. And this is for either Cecil or Chris or both. And that is, can you share a personal experience or a specific story from your apprenticeship or mentorship programs that highlight the significance of youth engagement as we work to solve this problem?
Chris, you want to go?
You go first, Cecil.
Okay, so yeah, no, so one of the items for us here is actually we work a lot with our ROPs. So here in the Bay Area, we have some ROP programs that we.
Can you define that acronym, please?
So regional occupational programs. So specifically high schools that focus on mechanic programs when it comes to that. So we have a shortage of workforce. Period. That's not something that's hidden. Everybody knows that. And right, so we want to make sure we target that workforce that is of the future. And for us, it's the high school, right? So we are engaged with working with the local community high schools. We do presentations. We have them actually do tours through our facility so that they see what it means to be a mechanic. What do we do? What the job entails, because not just within our programs itself, but a lot of times the public only sees the bus. And they only see the operator, and there are so many other jobs that are behind the scenes to make transit successful. And so even though I would love to hire all the mechanics and everybody come and work for me, which I would be so happy, but the reality is that there are so many other jobs within transit. And so I'm going to say honestly is I just want them to come to transit.
I love that. I love it.
I don't care if they come to maintenance, but hey, we need IT. Hey, we need, the maintenance team. There are so many positions. And, in general, we, as agencies, we have a lot of employees that are retiring, and we need to make sure we build that pipeline for the future, not just mechanics, because that is my focus, but for anywhere else. And although I hate to see somebody that comes in as a high schooler and becomes a mechanic and then leaves to go work for IT, hey, it happens, right? But they're still, what I'm excited about is that they're passionate and they're still with us, right?
That's right.
And that is what I focus on when it comes to that. But we are focusing on those high schoolers to ensure that they have a future path, a career ladder within the organization to whatever that vision is that they want to seek. So that is where we're targeting a lot, is those ROP programs that high schools have, and make sure that we are there at the table, basically for those career fairs to introduce AC Transit to them for their future.
That is outstanding. And Chris, I will turn it to you in just a moment, but 3 things you said I wanted to follow up on. You stressed the importance of the broad range of backgrounds for people in transportation. We have to tell that story. I'm a psychologist by training. I've spent every day in transportation. I've got a graphic designer on the team. It's not just for planners or engineers or mechanics. We need to look at the whole gamut of opportunity. So thank you for stressing that. That was very important. And then when you guys showed that cool video with the guy with the headset, what a great way to appeal to the younger generation, right? You're bringing in technology and innovation and things that are exciting to them. they're still thinking about wrenching on stuff. They're not realizing how much the game has changed. So thank you for your efforts. Chris, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, Cecil talked about the high school program, but it's like we worked with the ATU and the Joint Apprenticeship Committee to develop the Mechanic Helper program, which feeds into our apprenticeship program. It takes someone from the service island, bus operator, someone in the company that has some interest in becoming a mechanic or changing careers. And we put them through a year's worth of training. It was like we went and set up a program where they come in, they take some basic training and go to classes during the period, similar to what they would see if they became apprentices. And it's like, and they go, it's like at the end of the year, it's like they're qualified as an entry level apprentice. It's like, and we worked with, the staff, the other mechanics, and created a group that we have as guides, kind of like mentors, that these mechanic helpers will work with. So they come in and they work alongside a mechanic and they get a feel for what the job is like. We put them through different shifts, different days off,
Very cool.
doing different tasks, but it gives them a feel for it. And then what we were having originally with the apprenticeship program, it's like we'd hire an apprentice, they would start and say, you know what, I really don't like this. It's not for me. And it's like, this way we can get them their feet wet, they can understand what they're getting into, and it's like, and then they're more successful in our program.
Thank you for that. That makes so much sense, Chris. And we've heard from Cecil, Chris, and Andrew. So I want to make sure that the last question goes to Nana, and we're running short on time because there's never enough time for this conversation, which is so important. But Nana, please,
it actually looks like I think she might have disconnected for some temporarily. Yeah,
well,
just
You know
happened
what,
to-
Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to jump
about
in on this one because what I want to underscore, and we've said it, but we can't say it enough. It's about partnerships. It's about telling our story. But what our story is that the issue of transit worker assaults is our issue, but it is a societal issue. We are a microcosm of the communities within which we are privileged to operate. Okay. And unfortunately, if we sat up and did all the crime stats that are taking place, and we'll get in a little bit more in this into the next panel, I want to be quite clear about that. And so it's going to take partnerships, it's going to take community, and it is going to take us telling our story that is a part of that broader fabric, because it's going to take resources that are not just capital resources to do all of the work that we need to do to be able to do the critical work of public transportation, which is to help move this nation and the people who, and everybody, okay, what I'm saying, in one way, directly or indirectly, need us to be at our best, okay? And so I have to kind of say that portion of it because we get so internal to it that we need to lift it up so that, everybody, so to go back to the original, what can each person who's listening today do? Okay. And there's something here for all of us to do, whether or not we're in the transit industry directly or just a member of the public, okay, who appreciates the needs for what we do every day. So I turn it back to you, Karen.
Bev, just drop the mic. You just took away my part of self-reflection. I don't have anything to add to that. That was just perfect. So I'm just going to roll through the closing comments because nobody can match your passion and your dedication and your vision and your spirit. And I just love you. I think you're amazing. So today's discussion, I think we can all agree, represents the collaborative spirit needed to drive meaningful change in public transportation forward. And to that end, I have been working with Bev for a decade. I see that Mr. Ed Watt is also joining us today, another dear friend I've been working with since I was doing my doctorate degree. So these are conversations that span every walk of life, everywhere you're at, and it's so important. Thank you for bringing us together, Bev. Our speaker's presentation, the questions that were pre-submitted, and this whole event highlights the progress, the synergies of transit agencies, our labor unions, our community partners, and all of us to push forward for seamless transportation for all. Our goals are interconnected and ultimately the same: to make transit more efficient, engage our communities, build trust, and empower each other. Can't say
Yep.
that enough. Our panelists emphasize that innovation and community engagement are essential forces behind positive change. And so is mental health and kindness, moderators note. Working together, we can create a safer, more inclusive, and responsive transit system that meets everybody's evolving needs. But don't go yet, because we've got 2 more things that you need to do. Please make sure to complete the national survey. A QR code has been put up, which you can find in the chat as well as on the AYA website. And don't miss the second part of this exciting event, which happens in exactly 2 minutes, or excuse me, 32 minutes, that is. In case you missed it, the registration link also has a QR code, and it will be in the chat. And that is to dig deeper into operator assault. So whoever you are, whatever you do, remember to engage with your community, be a part of the conversation, and do your part to shape the future of mobility. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Karen, and all of the panelists. Thank you so much. You're great. See you in 30 minutes. Take care.
Bye,
Andrew,
guys.
Cecil, Chris, Nana, you were absolutely off the chain. Thank you. Karen.
Thank you
Love
so
you.
much, guys. Y'all
Love
are
you
fine.
guys.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
See
Thank you
you.
so much.
Nice to meet you
Bye-bye.
guys.
to
See
meet
you
you.
around.
Bye.
I'm
Thank
sure I'll
you.
see you around. Thank you, Dr. Scott.